Look up the word crazy in the dictionary and you might just find an asterisk beside the definition that says, listen to the Subiquitous podcast featuring Sue Duffield and you'll find out what crazy means. Sue's travelogue journey of unfiltered stories, impossible miracles, and faith-filled fun will be revisited right here. So buckle up and let's get going with this humorous travelogue of an unfiltered saint, Subiquitous.
Well, I'm filling in this week. This is not Subiquitous. It's not the voice you're used to hearing to start this podcast. However, you've got the right podcast. It is the Subiquitous podcast. I am the other half, Jeff Duffield, better known as Harry to some people. Susan has a small vocal problem this week. I won't go into all the details. You can get on social media and find out all that happened to her. But needless to say, the voice is not working as it should. So I've been selected to be the host. I'm so excited. And we have a special guest here that I'm going to introduce in just a short moment. But it's True Crimes Week on iHeartRadio podcasts. So since we're big fans of Law and Order, Blue Bloods, and even if you're old enough, LA Law, we thought we'd go that direction today. And the friend, my co-host this week, is someone that is a longtime friend of ours. And her name is Tammy Stevens. She's from Ohio, and her and her husband and daughter travel in a gospel group called the Stevens Family, appropriately enough. And it's Stevens Family Music on the Facebook page is where you can find them. She also has an online devotional called Viral Verses. And we met Tammy in my recording studio when she was about 3 years old, I think. Yeah, you can choke if you want. We're able to see each other right now, and she's making faces at me like, you got to be kidding me. But she and her husband many moons ago came to record in my studio. And I got to just say this from a personal standpoint, that this is one of the understated vocalists in Christian music. You may have not heard of her, and that is your loss. If you ever get the opportunity, you must seek them out, go on their website or what have you, and find out about this young lady, because she is quite the singer and songwriter and speaker and all around good egg, as they say. So Tammy Stevens, welcome to the Subiquitous podcast.
Well, thank you, Jeffrey Duffield, for that amazing intro that I don't know if I deserve, but I'll take it anyway. That's fine. So
yeah, you deserve it. Every bit of it's true. Every last bit of it is true. I have proof.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here. I'm just not happy about the circumstances. I think your listeners would probably prefer to hear Susie Biquitous today instead of me, but hey,
Susie Biquitous. That's a new one. We gotta remember
you like
that.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
Yeah, Subi QB.
Well,
yes.
Yeah. Well, we're all gospel singers, which means we've all traveled many miles on the highways.
Oh, for sure. And I feel every one of them.
Yes, and we've also traveled internationally. You have done mission trips to Romania.
Yes.
Right? Of course, Sue has gone to Asia. I've been to a couple other countries playing with big bands. So we're road dogs, as they say.
Yes, we sure are.
And we have not been on the road for this last year with all that's been going on, of course. But anyway, so the topic is true crimes, as long as it's not, or no, petty crimes. Is that what I say? True crimes. I read it right the first time. As long as it's not true confessions.
No. Oh, please. Okay. No.
No true. No.
Just, I have more of a filter than your wife, but still, that would be dangerous territory. So, oh, heaven help us.
Oh, Lord. Well, speaking of some true crimes, I'll mention some, and then we're going to look to you, because I know you've got a couple examples of them as well. One of them that comes to mind is many years ago, a good friend of ours, Ken Lang, he's got a great story. He used to be a Baltimore police officer, and he actually worked in the homicide division. He turned into a writer, and then following that became a college professor.
Wow.
And he's had some of his true crimes stories featured on television shows, maybe even Chicago PD.
Oh, don't get me started.
I know that's one of you. I know that's your fave, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry to admit, but we've been doing that thing called binging. Yeah. It's like we have
Ah,
no restraint. You have Netflix and you find a show you like, and we'll watch one and we'll say just one more. Just another one. And now we're on season 6. It's been like 2 weeks. So
we did one. We did one the other week about what was that about, Susan? She can talk, just not well. What was it? What was that subject about? Oh, whatever. It wasn't about true crimes, that's for
well,
sure. But we
I was telling you
go
about
ahead.
how they suck you in. Um,
Yeah, yeah, no
we
doubt.
discovered that Chicago PD can be intertwined with Chicago Fire, which can be intertwined with Chicago Medical. So you'll be watching one, and then all of a sudden you go to the next one and you think there's a missing piece here. So then you're Googling
Wow.
what scene of Chicago PD goes with Chicago Fire. So you end up watching 3 and 4. Yeah,
The,
it's a terrible
this
obsession.
this pandemic has created.
Couch potatoes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm on a special diet right now because of that very thing.
Well, there you go.
Uh, I have a master's degree in snacking,
Oh, yeah. I hear you.
and it got the best of me through this pandemic, and it was like a few weeks ago. It's okay. This needs to stop.
I hear you. I hear. So tell me about this Ken guy.
Well, Ken was quite the writer and told different stories. As I say, they're online. I don't see any in front of me, but they're online to talk about a lot of the murder mysteries that he had to solve.
Wow.
And he wrote about them, as we said, TV programs have you none, using the guide, if you will, the outline of the story.
Yeah.
And but that's one example of it. Sue was also on another one many years ago. Matt Lauer, the NBC broadcaster, had a show years ago called Headliners and Legends.
I remember that show. Yeah.
And they did a show on Bruce Willis, the actor.
Yes. Sue and Bruce go
Ubiquitous.
way back, don't they?
Way back, yeah, almost as far back as Sue and Jeff go back.
Yes.
And he attended high school with Bruce, and they found that out and contacted her and asked her if she would come on the program, and she did. And then when they got there, they wanted. They didn't really say it this way. They were very polite about it, very nice about it, but they wanted some dirt.
Oh, the
Imagine that.
juicy tidbits. Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And to my wife's everlasting credit, she did not do it.
She didn't rat on him, huh?
She did not. And she did not. And not long after that, Sue's brother was in a convenience store in New Jersey, and Bruce comes back to his hometown from time to time.
Yeah.
And he's standing there waiting to buy something, and he feels a tap on his shoulder, and there's Willis standing behind him and said, tell your sister thanks for not ratting me out. And there were others in the class who did.
Oh, wow.
And he was not happy.
Yeah,
He
I
was
can
not a happy
imagine.
fellow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yay, Sue.
But I got one more true crime, and then I'm going to let you share you because I think you've got a couple too. When we first moved to Nashville, we went on a trip and we left our Honda Fit parked at our apartment that we were staying in.
Okay.
When we came back, our daughter called us. She was there at the apartment. We were getting ready to fly home from Atlanta. She called us and said, I went outside to the parking lot, Dad, and the car is sitting on its wheels
Oh,
in the
heavens.
parking lot. There's no tires on the car. And we got back and pulled in. We drove home and we had our van. We got back to the parking lot and pulled in there. And sure enough, the car was sitting on its wheels. They had come in there, according to my mechanic's son, with some kind of rubber Band-Aid kind of thing or whatever, and put it underneath the car, lifted the car up,
Unbelievable.
and took all 4 of the tires off. Because as I found out, we had aluminum, easy for me to say.
Yeah, say that again. 3 times
Yeah.
real fast.
Once is an accomplishment. Aluminum alloy wheels on this car. It's this little midget economy car that we had that were like $2,000 to replace.
Wow.
I had no idea.
Apparently.
These guys did,
Yeah.
and my car was sitting on its wheels
On a gold
the
mine
ground.
or an aluminum mine.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay.
Yeah, exactly. we didn't stay in that location very long after that. So anyway, there's a true crime for you. Now,
Wow.
what experiences do you have with those kinds of things?
Well, we travel in a motorhome, and especially for extended trips. And I was asking my husband the other day, he reminded me of the details. We were parked in a church parking lot. The church, to be fair, was not in the greatest of neighborhoods, but we sing in questionable neighborhoods all the time. So, but
We understand.
I don't know if that says more about us or who we sing to. I don't know. But anyway.
I totally get it.
So we were parked there and we got there in the evening, set up the sound. Aaron and I came out, got ready for bed. Rich came out later. We went to bed and Rich says he remembers that in the middle of the night, there was some kind of a sound that just caught his attention, but he looked out the window, didn't see anything. Well, we got up the next morning and lo and behold, there was this puddle of brake fluid that was streaming across the church parking lot. And when Rich got underneath the motorhome in the parking lot there, someone had taken, I guess, a Dremel and had tried to cut into our brake line. And I really think their plan wasn't to cut it all the way through, but just to maybe get it a little bit open. We were planning to drive home that night, and from Maryland to home was a long trip.
Oh yeah.
And if that fluid would not have leaked out and Rich wouldn't have been able to see that, I can't imagine, what could have happened to us. So, you felt a little violated, here we are in a church parking lot.
Of all places where you think you're going to be safe.
Exactly. So that was pretty scary, but the Lord protected us.
Yeah, absolutely. That reminds me of the time that my son was playing for our church worship band, and we got him this Les Paul guitar, which for guitar enthusiasts, it's kind of an iconic instrument. And he would take it, he was playing for the youth program that went on Sunday mornings. He was playing guitar for that. He would do that, pack it up, and unbeknownst to me, stick it in one place in our all-purpose room in a corner. And then after church, he would get it and take it to the car.
Okay.
Because he didn't want to go out in the parking lot, I guess, and put it in the car or the van or whatever. And one Sunday, when he went to get it after the service, it was gone.
Oh my.
That and the amplifier. Long story short, which we know is an impossibility. That's an inside joke.
That's an inside joke. Yeah.
Yeah. Where's your husband while we're at it?
Yeah, right.
Long story short, the sound man in our church came to me the next day and said, "I know where your guitar is." He actually called me on the phone. He said, "I know where your guitar is." He had a construction company, and a guy working for him who also attended the church had noticed this and had stolen the guitar, was going to fence it, was going to sell it to whoever for
nice.
Yeah. So in the process of doing that, I of course had called the police. The police came out to the church and looked around. There's of course nothing to do with it, but anyway, I had the guy's business card, and so he says, "I got it." The guy had a fit of consciousness. I got the guitar and the amplifier.
Wow.
It's at this construction site where I'm working. Come over and pick it up. So I immediately drove over there. He was way on the other side of the lot. I could see him. I actually turned around and waved to him. He turned around and ducked away as soon as he saw me there. An hour later, I get a phone call from him. Actually, he comes to the church office. I was on staff at the church. He walks in. He wants to see me. He comes in. He says, "I just want to let you know I took the guitar and it's my fault and I'm apologizing for it."
Yeah.
And I did one of the craziest things I've ever done. My first intent, as I told him, was to go down to my van and get the 9-iron that I had in my golf bag and wrap it around his neck.
But then you looked at your WWJD bracelet.
Yeah. I didn't have one, but the maker of that was talking to me in the back of my head. Yeah, and it's literally what happened. I sat there, I looked at the guy, I said, "Okay, here's the deal." I said, and I showed him the sergeant of the police department's business card. I said, "Here's the business card." I said, "You will start showing up every Sunday morning for church services, and you will be sitting there, and I have spies that will tell me if you're here or not." And I said, "The first Sunday you miss without a good reason, I'm going to have you arrested."
Wow.
All I got to do is call this guy, and he knows where you live. He had just been in a fight in a parking lot 10 days before.
Oh, that is
they knew
funny.
him.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
So
he's
thinking, I'd rather do hard time than have to go to church. Yeah.
It was almost that way. I expected him to say to me, "Can I just
Yeah.
go to jail
Yeah,
now?"
really.
Yeah, but he was known. The police department, they were friends.
Oh, that's too
So
funny. Well,
he
I'm
started
did
and
he
he started coming to church. He
okay.
did. The last we heard, he's married. He's actually a board member in another
Oh,
church somewhere.
wow.
Yeah, and he has children. Yeah, has kids of his own, and is doing well. The
Wow.
the the person that used to sing with us, who you know well,
Mhm.
found out about this, and she was livid
Oh.
at me.
Oh.
Oh yeah, why didn't you have him arrested? He should pay for his crimes. Yada yada yada.
Yeah.
And I just looked at her and I said, "Talk to him up there,
Yeah,
the guy
truly.
upstairs. He told me to do this.
Yeah.
I agree with you, but he said don't."
Yeah.
So there, is an example of not doing what we want to do, but doing
Well,
perhaps what we.
doesn't the Bible tell us, those who have experienced the mercy of God should be the ones that are quickest to show mercy.
There you go.
So there you
There
go.
you
So
go.
you did do WWJD.
I guess.
Well, you
I
know what? I'm
guess.
sure you guys have experienced this too. How many services you get back to the product table and you've got missing product and you're just standing there going, seriously? But our response after the seriously is, you know what? If you got to steal Christian materials from a church, you really need it. So just, go with the blessing of God.
Yeah, better than them stealing some murder mystery
Exactly.
or
Exactly.
whatever else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or our tires. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, or brake lines,
Yes, whatever.
putting everything here. Don't cut my brake lines. Have a
Oh,
have a CD.
oh my
Have a
goodness.
T-shirt. Well, just don't cut my brake lines.
Exactly. Oh my
Well,
word.
I'm told through good authority that you have a thought that you
One or
about
two.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as they say in the business meetings, the floor is yours.
Wow. Wow. Well,
Yeah.
again, so thrilled to be here. And so we are talking about this whole subject of true crimes. And I think we're pretty much aware that there is one who his whole mission in life is to perpetrate crimes against people in the body of Christ. That's you and me. And of course,
Absolutely.
that's the enemy. That's Satan. He's a
Yep.
liar. And John 10:10 tells us that the thief comes to kill and steal and destroy. So he is the ultimate crime guy of all crime guys.
No
And,
doubt.
we've talked about different crimes that have been perpetrated, but the enemy wants to do a number on us, and he sits around day after day looking for ways to take us down. And in our own family, we experienced that. It's been about almost 11 years ago now, and I've never talked about it publicly because this happens to be more my daughter's story, but she has been sharing it more, and I talked to her and asked her if it was okay, and she was like, "Mom, absolutely, share it on Sue's podcast." So I do
Great.
have her permission to share this. But
Good.
Rich and I have been out there on the road for coming up on 36 years. Yes, there are two other crazy people in the world that decided to make their living like you guys. Yeah.
We tried to
Yes,
talk you
I
out of it.
know. I know.
No, I'm only kidding.
Yeah.
Only kidding.
But
Yeah.
Aaron, we waited quite a while to have Aaron, and came
Right.
along after about 9 years of marriage, and she just instantly became a part of our ministry, and
Right.
we cherish the role that she plays in our ministry, and so
Sure.
the three of us are like thick as thieves. I mean, we are extremely close.
Right.
And Rich and I were not the perfect parents, but we really set out to try to intentionally do things to protect Aaron. And as parents, you want to put your kids in that little cocoon and make sure they're safe.
Right.
And so we hit the road. She was 3 months old and started traveling with mom and dad, and started getting up on the stage and singing. And it was probably when she was about 12 years old that we made the move to go from Rich and Tammy Stevens, in parentheses, and Aaron too, to the Stevens family legit. And so, yeah, it was great. And she enjoyed being with mom and dad. It was a really wonderful arrangement. Aaron was she was just a few weeks away from her 16th birthday. And we had been very careful, especially with, it seems to me that parents are very quick to give their kids, phones these days.
Yeah.
I mean, I watch little
Yeah.
kids walking around with phones, and it just scares
I
me to
know.
death,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she knew she wasn't getting a phone until she was 16 years old.
Right.
But unbeknownst to us, a dear friend, somebody who was extremely trusted, somebody in ministry, somebody that Aaron looked up to, somebody that Rich considered probably one of his dearest friends, an adult man, was secretly grooming Aaron. He started on Facebook.
Mm,
And then as soon as she got her phone, then it switched to her phone.
mm,
And as delicately as I can say it, he victimized our daughter at
mm,
16 years old, a very sheltered young girl.
mm.
And you can imagine. And
Yeah,
this went on for months. We had no knowledge of this whatsoever. And
my.
all I can say, Jeff, is that when it finally broke, when
Mm.
all the pieces came together and we finally figured out what was going on, when we watch those crimes shows that we all love,
Right,
when they
right,
come and they take that yellow police tape and they put it all around the crime scene,
right,
that's
right.
kind of how we felt. It felt like
Yeah,
somebody had come with that yellow tape and just
sure.
wrapped it around the perimeter of our house and
Yeah.
just kind of shouting to the world, this family has been violated. This girl has
Mm,
been violated. And it was difficult. It was really
sure.
difficult. Our precious little family unit had
Yeah,
experienced some major devastation. And,
yeah.
we got Aaron help initially. We kept the circle very small of people that knew
Mhm,
about it, ministry people who could pray with us and advise us. We got her help initially. And as moms and dads, and you guys know this, the two things that we want to do with our kids, we want to protect them. But
right,
then when they get hurt, we just want them to get better. We just, you
right,
know what I mean? It's like
right,
we almost want to slap the Band-Aid on. Are you good? Okay, good.
right.
Because
Exactly.
we just
Yeah,
hate that sense that they're hurting so desperately. We want them to be able to move on.
right.
So, but what we discovered through years is that children don't have the mental machinery, the capability to deal with that kind of trauma.
Right.
And so things were happening on the inside that we weren't aware of. And
Mm,
so what ended up happening is that we discovered later that she felt so worthless and that she had failed,
mm,
that caused her to make poor decisions in relationships. When you
mm.
don't love yourself and you're being told that you're worthless and you're broken, you start to believe those lies. No matter how much we told her how much she was loved, still it was devastating.
And I believe that happens a lot
I do too.
with a lot of people today.
I
Yeah.
do too. We read a
Mm,
book, and I don't know if we're allowed to talk about books on your website, but or on your podcast here, but it was written by a lady named Deb Felida, and the book
mhm.
is called True Love Dates. And we read that book, and to sum up that book in a sentence is to say this: healthy people attract healthy people.
Right.
So conversely, unhealthy people attract unhealthy people. And so
True.
that's what was happening in Erin's life. Just
Mm,
unhealthy relationship after relationship. It wasn't
mm,
until she hit her early 20s that we realized it was time for an intervention. And
mm.
so we took her to a Christian counseling place. Actually, it's Emerge Ministries, which is like the premier Christian
Right.
counseling
It
center,
is.
in our country.
Right.
And all I can say is the Lord sent us an angel in the form of our counselor. And it was exactly what we needed. We went as a family because it wasn't just Aaron's issue, it was all of our issue. We had been
Sure.
violated, all of us,
Yeah.
and we needed to
Yeah.
heal.
Yeah.
And I can tell you today that, after a couple of years of spending time up there, trip after trip to
Mm,
Akron, the Lord really did a major healing in Aaron's life and in our life too. And
sure.
she is whole, she is healthy. You guys know this. She just recently got married to a wonderful Christian man.
Yeah.
And we can look back on all that now. It's been almost 11 years.
Mm,
We can look back on it now and see the hand of God, even in the midst of the crime that was done to us,
that's right.
and how God used it to change all of us. But
Yep.
it's certainly not something that we want to go through as parents.
Of course
Um,
not.
I remember saying, "Why not let it happen to me, Lord? Not her. Just let it be me."
Yeah.
And just as a side note to your listeners, and I think you and Sue can relate to this, in the atmosphere that we were raised in the church. If you had a problem, something went wrong, you just go to the altar and you pray it through, and then that's
Right.
it.
Right.
And that's not to diminish at all the redemption power of Jesus Christ, but there are
Right.
times when we do need to say, we need some help.
Right.
The
Well, the
Lord.
Bible talks about it that there's strength and wisdom in counsel.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
I still think in Christian circles that there's a bit of a stigma oh, well,
Sure.
we can't go to counseling, then people would think
Right.
that we're not really good Christians. No, that's not it at
Right.
all. God
No,
uses godly counselors to help
absolutely.
to bring us healing.
Yeah.
So
Well, and let me add that, just to throw this part in that Aaron, and your mom, so, but I'm not mom, so I can say this. Erin is a lovely young lady,
yes, thank you.
talented. And when I say lovely, I mean beautiful. She's just a gorgeous young lady. And you're right. She's got a great guy that they just got
Oh,
married, and a
amen.
lot of good things are happening for them, which makes us, the thing about these circumstances when God works and when we allow him to work, that he can turn it around, uh, and he'll get the glory and the praise for it and the credit, however you want to phrase it,
Yes.
if we let him, and we're patient. You mentioned 11 years process.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen overnight. We had friends of ours that had marriage issues, and we got put in the unsought for position of, if you will, having to counsel and
Wow.
direct them. And thankfully, we were able to put, with our encouragement, put them in front of, like you said, counsel, good
Right.
Christian counsel. That we're talking now 10 years ago, and the marriage has been saved.
Oh, praise
So
God.
yeah, we've been there too in a different way, but same
Right.
thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I was thinking about, just in scripture, the enemy has always been against the family. He's been against marriages. Why do we see such
Absolutely.
statistics in our world today? So many marriages end in divorce. So many families are ripped apart. We hear more stories of fathers and mothers who are not speaking with their children, who don't even get to
Right.
see them or their grandchildren. I mean, the
Right.
enemy is after the family. And
Right.
I mean, look at the garden. I mean, the most perfect marriage in the most perfect setting. And look what he did. His design was to
Yes.
split it up. Then they get out of the garden. And what does he do? He enters into the heart of Cain. So now a brother against a brother. And it's been going on since then. And then I think too about when God decided that he wanted a people for himself. He wanted to start his special people, the Jewish people, and he was going to start with Abraham. And so we know Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. But there were obstacles. The enemy was trying to fight against that ever happening. He wanted to take God's people down from the very start. And I was thinking in relation to all these things that we're talking about, when we look at the life of Jacob, he was the one who had the 12 sons who were to be the beginning of the 12 tribes of Israel. But the enemy was just not going to let it go without a fight. And so
Right.
we see this family and these brothers, and we see the infighting. We see, Joseph being born with a vision, with a dream. And yeah, maybe he didn't handle himself quite right. But those brothers, there was a seed planted in their hearts. They didn't know it, but it was the enemy trying to destroy God's purpose. And so, the story, they sold him into slavery, and there he is in Egypt, and Jacob is, suffering with the loss of his son. And
Right.
there was contention there between the family, and it all could have fallen apart, especially when you think about the fact that then this great famine comes. I mean, they would have been wiped out,
That's right.
but God,
But
because
God.
Joseph was there for a reason. And so that's why when his brothers finally discovered who he was, he looked at them and he was able to say, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good, for the
That's
saving
right.
of many lives."
Absolutely.
And that's the hallmark of any of us, those of you who are listening that are going through a time of difficulty in your marriage, or contention and separation with your kids, to remember that somehow, maybe not tomorrow or next month or next year, but somehow God is going to redeem that for your good and for his glory. And he's going to work it out. And what the enemy is attempting, I'm sorry, he doesn't have the last word. God has the
That's
last
right.
word.
Absolutely.
God has the last word.
Yeah.
God is the final
Well,
judge.
yeah, absolutely. No, well, ladies and gentlemen, now you see the wisdom of why my wife made the suggestion to have Tammy come on here, because not only is she a great person and not only an extremely talented singer, but she's a great speaker
Oh,
and she's a great teacher. Uh, you also tell me about, I know you hate this, so I'm going to make you do it, but tell us about your video live streaming, whatever we want to call it,
oh,
that you do.
viral verses?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, you know, so we all got shut down last March 2020.
Exactly.
And all of us, you guys know, we couldn't travel anymore. We couldn't sing. And we were planning a wedding and renovating a house. So I should have been busy enough, but I just felt this ache in my heart and this longing to still be in ministry, and I didn't know how to do it. And you guys know this. You've started this wonderful podcast, and you do your Couch to Kitchen, your live concerts that are just amazing every Thursday. Don't miss those, folks. But for me, I just knew that I needed to fill that emptiness with some kind of ministry. So I just looked at my daughter and I said, okay, this is going to be really hokey, but would you just video me with your iPhone? I'm just going to sit here at the kitchen table and I'm just going to 3 to 5 minutes every week, just share something that God is revealing to me through his word. So, I mean, when I go back to the first few weeks, I'm embarrassed at what it looked like, but it just started to grow. And
Right.
pretty soon my daughter's like, okay, well, we need a little bit of maybe a logo or something. And now we need music. And then she's like, you need different backgrounds. And so
Those producer people can be
I
such
know.
a
They're
pain.
just, I know. It's so
The
bossy.
creatives, the creatives.
So
yeah,
now
they're
we're sitting in different areas in the house, and then we moved outside, and then it got hysterical because we'd used up all our locations. So now I'm calling my neighbors. I'm like, your flowers look really good. Can I film a viral verses in your backyard? I mean, I showed up across the street at my neighbors on their front step because they were out of town. And I said to the people that were watching, I said, listen, if you too can have viral verses filmed at your house, just reach out to.
I love it.
So, I've done it every single week since April the 1st, except I took off the week that my daughter was on her honeymoon. And
Imagine that. Yeah,
yeah,
because you had to decompress just a little.
yeah, truly, I did need a little breather, but
Just a little.
it's I don't know what it's doing. I mean, people do write and tell me that it's an encouragement, and I did something really cool this past week. When you're on Facebook, sometimes you want to promote something that you're doing and
Sure.
spend a little bit of money. And you had mentioned that we traveled to Romania. I'm Romanian. That's what my heritage is. And so it was a thrill for us to go to Romania 2 years ago and spend a month there. But when I promoted Viral Verses this past week, I just put in Romania. Don't ask me why. I've never done it before.
Okay.
I got thousands of views. I mean, I
Oh
never
my.
get that kind of a response. And the playthroughs, I'm just like, thank you, Jesus. And it was a very specific salvation message. So the past couple of days, I'm like, Lord, I just pray that somebody watched that and put their faith in you and became a Christian. So who knows? We'll get to
That's
heaven
fantastic.
and find out.
Now, for the listeners that just listened to you expound and all about your Aaron's situation and how God worked through it,
Yes.
and they're going, okay, this girl's really good. Where can I find out more information, and where can I pick up on Viral Verses? Where do I need to go to see that and listen to it?
Well, we posted every Wednesday. For the most part, it's every Wednesday at our page, and it's just Stevens Family Music. That's Stevens, Stevens. Stevens Family
And that's
Music.
Facebook?
That's on Facebook. Yes.
Facebook. Okay.
And then
Okay, wanted to make sure.
if you want to know a little bit more about us, you can go to our website at stevensfamilymusic.com. And everything you need to know.
I understand.
Consolidated
Well,
on a page.
if you go there, you will find out the Stevens family. I say family because they all work together. You'll find out that they're very talented. They're great songwriters. They're great singers. Again, Tammy, as you just heard, is a great teacher, and Rich is crazy. I mean, we get along. I like to say Rich and I are detailed oriented. You and my wife like to say, just get to the point.
Yes.
But
Cliff Notes. Give me a Cliff Notes. Oh,
it's
dear
a guy
Lord.
thing. It's a guy thing. It's a guy thing.
Oh.
Well, anyhow, Tammy, thank you. This was exactly what I figured it would be.
Oh.
I am not the least bit disappointed. I mean, I've known you. I knew what you'd be able to do, and you just knocked it out of the park as far as I'm concerned.
Well, thank you.
And this issue of the Subiquitous podcast, we don't know when she's going to come back again. We'll
come back
see.
quickly.
hoping
Maranatha,
so.
Susie Ubiquitous. Come back
Yes.
quickly.
Yeah, we're hoping that she's got her doctor appointment in the near future, and the doctor said no singing or hard talking.
Oh, dear.
And those of you who have listened to this podcast know that even though she doesn't sing, the hard talking is difficult.
Yeah, she's
So
in
we're
an
not
induced coma right now just to accomplish that.
Well, for those of you who are curious, she, as you can imagine, she's found different ways to communicate. Legal pads were one. Another, she downloaded an app on her phone that will you type in and a Siri-like voice will talk.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I know you're shocked.
Wonderful.
Anyway, but this has been number 42. Episode 42 of the Subiquitous Podcast.
Hey, can I put in a plug in that lovely lush voice that you hear at the beginning and the close of this?
Who might that be?
Oh, that's my wonderful husband, Richard.
Yes, yeah. Richard. Yes, the anal retentive.
Yes, that's him. Yes, that's him.
It's a producer's thing. It's just a producer's thing, and he does such a great job. I listen to it every week, and I go, God, how come I can't talk like that?
Oh, yeah, but we all say, how come we can't play like you? So,
Well, I know, but
bloom where you're planted, buddy.
I know, but I can't do that stuff. So it's, what are you doing?
I love Rich Stevens.
So do I.
My wife has spoken through the voice of Siri. Get out of here with that.
Well, thank you for listening to the Subiquitous Podcast. Susan will be back as soon as she's physically able. Until that time, we may have some other special guests for you to listen to. We thank Tammy Stevens for her time and for her talent and insight today on true crimes. What a wonderful podcast this was. I enjoyed learning from Tammy, and I'm sure you did as well. Thank you again for all your contributions and your gifts to us to keep this thing going. It's very vital, and we certainly do appreciate it here at the Subiquitous Podcast. Number 42, True Crimes. Go to SueDuffield.com for more information and contact us, and we look forward to seeing you again the next time at the Subiquitous Podcast. Bye for now.